Please, if you can see my. Oh, okay. I think the group was that. Alright. So my name is Annie, as some of us we know. For those people that attended onboarding and those ones that attended town hall, you should have met me by now. But if you haven't, my name is Annie, and I'm the team lead for TDI. So I'm going to be taking us on the introduction to data analytics today. So in the course of this 1 hour session, we're going to, let's say 1 hour, 30-minute session, because I want it to be just be 30 minutes so we can ask our questions. We're going to talk about data, what is data analytics, and some skills you need as a data analyst, right? So let's start. I know we've been hearing data analytics. You need to understand the concept data before you start to analyze it, right? Or before you add data and the analytics to it. So data is any information that can be collected, that can be analyzed, that can be used in different formats. So anything that you can collect and you can analyze is called data. So it can be in any format, can be numbers, can be text, can be videos, can be audios, can be audios, can be emails, anything at all that you can collect, right? That you can gather and analyze is called data. So we can obtain data from different sources. We can obtain data from databases. We can obtain data from our social media. We can obtain data from sensors. We can obtain data from even survey forms, right? These are the places or different sources where we can obtain data from, and we're still going to talk about the different data sources. But just know that data is any information that can be collected and analyzed to get information out of it. That is what data is. So we have, in terms of data analytics, we have three different types of data, right? In terms of maybe data analytics, we have three different types of data. And we have the structured data, semi-structured data, and unstructured data. So structured data is data as the name implies. So once you read about data analytics, I don't know about other courses, right, or other tracks. But one thing about data analytics is as the name implies. So anything you hear, just try to explain it in your normal English language and attach data to it, then try to explain it based on data. That's just what it is. So when something is structured, it means that that thing is organized, right? It is in a format where you can understand it better. So we have structured data. This data is in organized format. So we usually store them in databases or our spreadsheets, right? Then we have semi-structured data. These ones are partially organized, as the name implies, semi-structured, meaning it is not entirely structured. And then we have unstructured data. These ones are scattered, they don't have format. And as a data analyst, you are going to be working with structured data. So no need to worry about semi-structured data or unstructured data. Unstructured data is usually for mainly for those in data engineering. So they will make this data to be structured enough for you to use it as a data analyst. So no need to worry about this type of data. But just to give you an example of what unstructured data looks like, I know we've seen movies where there's a little copying of files or something like that, and then you see mixed mixture of text, numbers going up the screen. Something I'm trying to like picture something in my head. I hope you guys get it. So that's what unstructured data looks like. You have different things. There are text flying, numbers flying, different characters flying up the screen. and it is scattered, you can't even make sense out of that whole information you're seeing there. So the work of a data engineer is to make this unstructured data, put it in a format where you understand it as a data analyst. So as a data analyst, you are going to be working with structured data. So now, difference between our structured and unstructured data. So our structured data can be displayed in rows and columns. So the fact that we say that we can is stored in a spreadsheet. So a spreadsheet contains rows and columns. So a spreadsheet, an example of a spreadsheet is our Excel file, our Excel app, right? That's the spreadsheet. So you know that things are being arranged in rows and columns. So structured data can be arranged in rows and columns. And then for structured data, we have numbers, we have dates, we have strings, we have numbers, we have dates, we have strings. Because it says text, right? So if you hear strings, means that they are talking about text. And our structured data takes only 20% of our enterprise data. So I'm going to relate it to the next thing, which is requires less storage. So when something is organized, right, it takes very little storage. So let me say, for instance, if your room is well organized, you will see that you have enough space in your room because you have arranged things and then you can see spaces everywhere. That's what is happening. So for the fact that the data is structured, it takes only 20% of enterprise data. It requires just less storage. And then it is also easy to manage. If you walk into a room where you keep things in place, you wouldn't need to look for anything. So if I'm looking for my wristwatch, I know where it is. If I'm looking for my bag, I know where it is. Why? Because it is arranged, it's in a structured format, so I can easily find what I want. Now, coming to unstructured data. Unstructured data, because they are scattered, like I was trying to give an example of what an unstructured data looks like. It cannot be displayed in rows and columns, right? And then your structured data is like your image, your audio, your video, word processing files, and the rest. And it takes 80% of enterprise data. That is, it requires large storage. Obviously, when your room is very scattered, things in the room occupy more space because my clothes might be where it's not supposed to be, so it's occupying the space there. And my shoes might be somewhere else it's not supposed to be, so it's occupying another space there. So it's taking 80% of your enterprise data, and it is very difficult to manage. Anything that is scattered is difficult to manage. So if I come into my scattered room, it will be very hard for me to find my wristwatch or for me to find my clothes because I don't know where to find my wristwatch or for me to find my clothes because welcome to number 25 now. I'm in a meeting and you'll be starting my sorry about that, guys. Can you guys hear me now?
We can hear you.
All right. This what was the
Yeah,
last
we
thing I
can
said
hear you.
before the network started? Nobody. I said what was the last thing I said?
Structured, structured data.
Unstructured data.
Okay.
So basically,
Yeah,
you were explaining
what happens, why it takes up more space. You were giving an instance of when you're in the room and your room is scattered around that side.
Okay, thank you. All right. So as I was saying, something that is scattered or a room that is scattered takes more space. We end up not even seeing any space at all in your room because everywhere is scattered. And for the fact that it is scattered, it is going to be very difficult for you to manage. It's going to be very difficult for you to manage, right? So if I keep my things anyhow, when I come and I start looking for my trouser or I start looking for my wristwatch, it's going to be very hard for me to find because everywhere is scattered. I have clothes everywhere, I have shoes everywhere. I don't have standards for keeping my things. So unstructured data is very, very hard for you to manage, unlike your structured data that you can manage easily. So that's the difference between your structured and unstructured data. And as I said before, as a data analyst, you're going to be working with structured data. People that work with unstructured data are called data engineers, and their job is to make this unstructured data structured for you to be able to use it as a data analyst. So now let's talk about data sources. All these data that we're talking about, where do they come from, right? How are they collected? So number one, we have primary data sources. These ones are sources, they are data that are collected from their original data collected directly from the sources. Like example, we have survey data, right? I know that almost everybody here have filled a survey form before, right? I know I have filled survey forms several times. So when they collect this data from you, maybe to know what you like as a customer, or maybe to see what kind of diseases happening in the country or your area, or just to see what students like, stuff like that. That is what a survey data. So you are feeling like a survey from a question and answer paper. So they're collecting data from you directly. And then you have interviews also, when you ask people questions and then they answer. Like I said, data is everything. Data is anything at all. So when people are talking and they are collecting information from them, that is direct source data. And you also have experiments. So those of us in the science world, right? I'm a microbiologist anyways. So those of us in the science world, we did a whole lot of experiments, right? Those things that we are gathering from the lab, they're also called data. There are different data sources that we have. So primary data sources are those ones that we collect directly from the source, right? Then we have secondary data source. These ones are data that have already been collected and processed. So most before you get a job, you're going to be working mainly with secondary data sources, right? So these data sources you have, like those open sources we have, like our cargo. If you're used to these online sources where you can download data for free, we have like our cargo, we have like our data.gov and so on. These data, they've already been collected, let's say like those survey forms, right? And now they put them online for you to have access to them. That is not a primary source because you don't even know once that survey. But if I collect directly for my customers, that is a direct source. But if I go online and download that data that I don't know who kept it there, that is a secondary data source. So secondary data sources are those ones that are already be collected from maybe by a company and then they posted it online for anybody to have access to. So we have research articles, we have um government reports, databases, online articles, and so on. Those data that you can get from different sources, online sources, and so on, they are called secondary data sources. And then we have internal data sources. This one is data that is generated within the organization. You don't go outside of the company, it's inside the company, right? So survey data can happen anywhere. I can decide to just go out on the street and give people data and give people form and collect their data, right? But survey data must be within the company. So let's say I want to have like a sales record, what is happening in the company. I will not leave my store and go to another store to get data from there, even if it's still going to be even if it's still going to be primary source because I collected myself, but it's not going to be an internal source. An internal source means it's going to, I don't know who is that person that is raising up hand. Whose hand is up? Is there a mistake?
Sorry, we can't see your screen.
You can't see my screen.
Yeah.
Who else cannot see my screen? Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Is it? Can you see? Okay.
This is the other time, but the screen was not changing. Like the slides were not continuing. It was only on a static. It was only static on structured and unstructured stuff.
But is it better now? Can you see data sources? Might not be from you. Check your network.
Yes, you
Can
can
you
see
see
data
data
sources.
sources now?
Yes.
So I was explaining the external data sources. I said these ones are generated within the organization. So for example, we have sales data, customer database, financial reports, all those data that you gathered within the organization. Like if you go to the supermarket and you buy things and they collect your data, maybe the things you got, the time you got them, those ones are external data sources. Like you're collecting data from the company, within the company, not outside. And we also have external data source. So real one, I'll be real quick, something like that. The two main sources of data that we have are called primary and secondary data sources, right? Now, internal data source, it's under primary data source because it's collected directly, but this one is collected within the organization, meaning that I can take survey data and get it outside, right? But then I collected it by myself. The same thing with what is happening in internal data sources, but then it's done inside. And then secondary data source where I get data outside is also, you can also call it external data sources, right? This one, you're getting this data outside, like your market research report, all these reports, you can get them on the internet. So those data that you can download from the internet that you are not the one that kept there, that you can download outside of the company or outside of you collecting survey data, they are all called secondary or external data sources. All right, so don't get it twisted. And then we have real-time data sources. These ones are data that are collected and made available immediately. Example of such data especially is our sensor data that we use to check. I know social media feeds are also there. I know you can download your WhatsApp data and start analyzing almost immediately. Same thing with sensor data. I know sensor data is like really, really fast. So maybe you want to check maybe traffic, right? To see how many cars passed by or something like that. Those data, they are made almost immediately. If I take a survey data, it take me time for me to gather it and put it together. But survey data have been available like very fast. That's why they are called real-time data. So it's at immediately that stuff is happening, the data is available, right? So these are the different data sources that we have. So let's move on. Can you guys see my next slide, please? I want to be sure you are following.
No, we cannot. It's on data sources. Number 3. Tops are number 3. Internal data sources.
Data sources. It's
How
on
many
the eighth
people can
slide.
see data sources?
Okay, it has changed now. Data life cycle is what you can see now.
It's on the 10th
People will
slide now.
throw your network away because it's obviously not from my network. Why is it your own class that is network is
Data
talking?
life cycle, right? Not showing again. What's going
Yes,
on?
I stopped presenting.
All right.
Can you guys see it now?
Yeah, we can.
Did you move to the next slide?
What is data analytics is what I can see.
So it's working now.
Data life.
All right. So let's continue from here. So everything that has life or everything that can be created, it has a beginning and it must have an end, right? So everything that has life, or how this to say it, must have an end. So now we're going to talk about how data is created and how it is being destroyed, or why it is being destroyed after creation. So the very first stage of data is the plan phase, right? We're still talking about data. We've not even gone to data analytics yet. We're still talking about data. So we have to be really fast. So the plan phase, this is where you are planning on the type of data that you want and how it can be managed. Before you go out to start collecting data or start giving out survey forms, you need to know what you're putting in the survey forms, right? Before you set out to start collecting this data from people. Then we have the capture phase. Where will this data be collected from? So I would not want to ask questions concerning how people are clubbing or the different types of clubs that they have, which is better. And then I'll go to a church environment and start giving out survey forms. So you need to know how to ask the right question. What type of data do you need? And where will you go and ask this question or give out the survey forms that you have? Or where will this data be collected from? Then we have the manage form. The manage. This is where we're talking about care for the data. How and where will this data be stored? Data management is a big deal. You don't just collect people this data and keep it anyhow. So when you start working for a real-time company, you will see that they don't just give you data anyhow. And if you're responsible for data, if they call you and say, oh, you're responsible, oh, Michael, you're responsible for this data. If anything happens to that data, you will be arrested or you'll be held. Let me not go too far. You'll be held responsible. Why? Because that data was kept in your care, right? So all this data you see online and you're playing with it anyhow, it doesn't work like that in real life. It doesn't work like that in real times because you can't really put customers' data out there or keep it carelessly. So before they collect this data, they talk about how will this data be managed? Where is it going to be stored, right? Then the analyze phase, this is where you're using the data for what you brought it for, which is to solve problems and make decisions. That's what you brought the data for. And then you have the archive phase. So now data can either be destroyed or it can be kept for reuse, right? So if you're keeping this data, if your company is keeping this data so they'll use it later, it is called the archive. Then the destroy part, you're destroying this data because you want to protect customers' information or the company's information. So every data that has beginning has an end, right? You can't just keep customers' data in your database forever. If you get out, you are going to be held responsible. So in terms of data management, or in terms of data lifecycle, it's something that you want to have at the back of your head. So if your company calls you and say you are responsible for this data, you are responsible for this data. So if anything happens to that data, you'll be held responsible, right? So we have the plan, capture, manage, analyze, archive, and destroy. So now we know a bit about data, what data is, different data sources, type of data. Let's talk about what is data analytics. Okay, so data analytics involve examining raw data to discover hidden pattern, trends, and correlation, right? So by analyzing this data, businesses can make informed decisions using this data. So data analytics is just, you are now a data analyst, right? You're taking this data, you're trying to analyze it to get information out of the data. We've not spoken about analytics, we've just talked about data. So when you gather this data together and you're trying to make meaning out of it, that is you performing data analysis. That's you doing data analysis there, trying to make sense out of this data that you have, right? So now, what is data analytics used for? We've been hearing data, data, data. How does it imply, or how do we use it in our everyday life? How do companies use it? So I'm going to explain it in terms of 3 companies, which are, let's talk about customer insight. So from customer, for customer insights, we can use data analytics to study our customers and their behavior. We can see things like what products they like and also increase our marketing strategy. Let me give you, for instance, in terms of customers insight. So when you are streaming Netflix and then you watch a particular movie, you notice that the next movie that is going to be recommended for you might be something related. So if you watch something horror, the next movie that will be recommended for you will be something horror. Why? Because they've seen that, oh, you like this movie. They didn't just assume that you like this movie. They saw that you watched this movie to the very end, or you've been watching movies that are related to this type of movie. So they've been studying your data, analyzing you. So when they give you something that is related to something being horror, you will stay and you watch more and you'll make more money, right? That's one thing in terms of Netflix. Let's talk about music, right? So if you're this person that listens to a particular type of music, let's say sad music, they will keep feeding you with sad music. Even if you don't press next, you just play and you say continue playing. Every music that is going to be played is going to be sad, right? Because they don't want to give you something joyful and you get angry and turn off the music and they will lose money. So you want to make your customer happy, right? So in real life, you go to a supermarket, or let's say you go to a restaurant and you buy rice. And the next day you go to that same restaurant and you buy rice. The next time you come to the restaurant and they greet you, hi, good morning, Tony. Would you like your special rice? You will feel so special because they recognized you. It's you feel so nice, right? I'm even giving, let me give you a real life example. So I had a student and she was telling me how she went to buy pizza and she got there the first time. She gave them her order and everything and I gave it to her. The second time she went there, they called her name, like, do you want your specials? And she felt so special. So the next time she went there, she went with her friends. She was like, she has this pizza and joint, da 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 da. And she went with her friends. That is a happy customer. And now she has brought more customers for them. So happy customer leads to happy money. And they wouldn't have been able to do this if they were not gathering customers data and seeing what these customers like. So in terms of customer insights, this is how data analytics can help. We have many more. Our social media, the type of feeds that they give to you. If you're watching a particular video, they keep giving you that type of video. Right? We know the things that is trending now, our Didi. So I've been watching that particular video for the past 5 days, and my entire TikTok feed is Didi, then I am invested. So that is how they look at it and they say, okay, this customer likes this. Let's give this person this so they don't leave the app and we make more money. Right? Now, how about healthcare? Right? I see so many people say, oh, I'm a doctor. How does it relate to their medicine? Or I'm a microbiologist. How does it relate to medicine? You can use data analytics to analyze diseases and check for trends of diseases. You can also use data analytics to also predict treatment, right? So if there's a particular disease that is common in a particular area, you can gather the data. So let's say liver failure. You can gather the data and you see that you have more of the old people complaining of or having liver failure. Why? Maybe because they are old, their immune system can no longer fight, or maybe what they were taking with it. All these things can be done using data. So in terms of healthcare sector, data analytics is not left out. In fact, it is being used over and over and over again. Then we have fraud detection. So I'm going to relate this one to financial institutes. So I'm sure we've all experienced one way or the other where we are being called to the bank because we got huge amount of money in our account, or they sensed a funny transaction that is happening in your account. Why? This is because they have studied your account and they've seen that you follow a particular pattern. So let's say you are used to receiving a salary of 5,000, 5,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. The highest you've received so far is 50,000. And all of a sudden you're getting an alert of 10 million naira. You will go to the bank and explain why you are receiving 10 million naira from where. So that is because they've gathered your data and they've analyzed it and they've seen that you are following a particular trend and all of a sudden you've gone up. How? So they need to be sure that you are not scamming someone, or you're not scamming someone to get money. So in terms of financial institute, this is one of the ways that they use data analytics. So we also have many more, but just going to talk about those three. So now we have types of data analytics. We have, for now, I'm going to explain 4. So you might go out there and you might see more than this, but these 4 should guide you. So we have the descriptive, diagnostics, predictive, and prescriptive. What? Can you guys still see my slide, types of data analytics?
We can.
Yes,
We
we
can
can
see.
see.
We can.
Okay. So the descriptive, this is where you are trying to know what happened, right? This is where you're trying to say, okay, what happened, you're going to ask a question as a detective that you're going to be, or as you are as a data analyst, right? You need to ask what happened before you start finding solutions to the problem. You're not a problem solver. So you will not enter a room where people are fighting and then you start giving them solution. You need to understand what happened, right? This is where we're talking about the descriptive. Then I'm sorry, why did it happen? Why did it happen? You can only answer it with the data that you have. So I can tell you what happened. What happened is we are having low sales. Then you can answer things like so you can answer things like why did it happen using the data. You cannot tell me why I'm having low customers if you don't look at the data. You're not a magician, right? So why did it happen is something you're going to answer with the data, all right? And then what will happen? This is where you are trying to predict. You're not a magician, right? Or a fortune teller. Let's put it that way. So you're trying to tell what is going to happen, but you're not saying what is going to happen from your head. Based on what you have seen in the data, this is what is going to happen. So let's say, for example, what happened? Oh, there is traffic, right? So what happened? Like there's traffic. And now, why did it happen? I start analyzing the data why there's traffic, and I've seen that okay, there was traffic on Monday because people were going to work, right? It's Monday. There was traffic on Tuesday because people were going to work. There's traffic on Tuesday because people were going to work. I'm just trying to give you a simple example, right? So what happened is there is traffic. Why did it happen? People are going to work. What is going to happen? What is going to happen is that on Thursday, I'm still going to experience traffic, right? Except I leave so time. Maybe there's also time to analyze. Except I leave so time to avoid this traffic. This is because I've analyzed this data and I've seen that there's a trend of traffic, right? So Thursday, people are also obviously going to go to work also. It's meaning that there's a possibility that there will be traffic, right? So that is what is going to happen. It's going to happen. I'm trying to predict the future and saying, based on what I've seen in this data set, this is what is going to happen. Then the prescriptive phase is where you're talking about what should we do. So I've seen what is going to happen. What is going to happen is that there will be traffic on Thursday. What should I do? Oh, I should probably leave earlier, maybe 5 a.m. or maybe I should leave later when the serious ones have gone to work. Maybe I should leave like 11 a.m. Traffic will be less. That is what data analytics is about. So you are trying to understand what happened. Why did it happen? You're using the data to know that what will happen. You're also using the data to know what is going to happen because you're seeing why it happened. And what should you do? That is the recommendation phase. So as a data analyst, you're a problem solver. That is where you're telling your boss what should we do, right? So they're telling your boss what they should do in the company. So these are the 4 types of data analytics that we're going to explain today. Then we have phases of data analytics. We have the ask, prepare, process, analyze, share, and act. So for the ask phase, this is where you're asking questions. You can also relate it to the descriptive types of data analytics where we talk about what happened. So like I said, if you enter a room where people are fighting, you don't just start giving them solutions. You need to understand what's happened. So you are going to ask a question. So if they give you data in your company and your boss says, go analyze what? You need to understand what am I analyzing? What exactly is the problem? What am I trying to get out of this data? That is your ask phase. The prepare phase is where you're collecting and storing this information. So if I've said, okay, customers are not coming to our shop, and then I have to collect the data to know why customers are not coming, maybe recent data that have been collected by the person in cashier or something like that. That is your prepare phase. You collect this data. And then we have the process phase. This is where you're going to be cleaning your data. Now, we might not have a chance to talk about this part again, but you see this phase, don't skip it too. In your entire journey as a data analyst, don't skip it. Don't ever say, I thought the data was clean, or the data seems clean, or the data looks clean, or the data is clean, or I don't know the type of clean that you want to use because people come up with different words every day. But don't ever assume that your data is clean or say, oh, I saw it and data is clean. Always make sure you clean your data because one wrong data cleaning or one wrong value can lead to an entirely messy analysis, and which is what is going to happen. You're going to give a recommendation that is not true. What is now going to happen? Your boss is going to lose money. Your company will lose a whole lot of money. Your clients will not give you job again because the first one you did for them, they lost money. So data cleaning is a step that you don't want to skip. So even if the data looks like it's clean, still perform the data cleaning steps that you're supposed to perform to make sure that that data is accurate and free from error. So this process phase, don't ever skip it and say it looks clean. Then we have the analyze phase. This is where you're analyzing data to look for patterns, to look for relationship, look for trends so that you can answer the question that your boss has given you, right? So that you can solve the problem you're analyzing. Then we have the share phase. This is where you're sharing with your boss, sharing with your employer, sharing with your client, sharing with your friends, and you're saying that, okay, this is what I found out using this data. This part is what we discussed at like the type of data we just discussed, type of data analytics we just discussed, to talk about got it, the diagnostic. That is, you're trying to share whatever you got into from here to here, why did it happen, and what will happen is what you're talking about in the share phase. Then the act phase is the last type of data analytics, which is this: what should we do? So the act phase is you're giving them the recommendation and you're making sure that they work on that because of your recommendation. So you're using your recommendation to work. So these are the 6 phases of data analytics, and you cannot skip one and do 2. You can't skip 2 and do 4. It is a step-by-step process. So you must know what the problem is. You must prepare the data, clean the data. You must analyze the data, obviously, before you share it. And you must have shared the data before they start acting on whatever solution that you have given them. So these are the phases of data analytics. Then let's talk about the tools that you're going to be using as a data analyst, right? So let's say, consider yourself as a data analyst working on the project analyzing customers' data. So the different types of tools that you're going to use depends on what you want to do. So number 1 tool we have is our SQL, also known as structured query language. Structured query language, our SQL is a database. SQL is also known as a database that we use to store, not only to store data, we can use it to manage data, query data. We can also use it to manipulate data. We can also use it to clean data. We can also use it to analyze data. The only thing we cannot use structured query language to do perfectly is visualization. Why I said perfectly, because I can see some people say, oh, you can create this, you can create that. I've never tried it, but SQL is not a visualization tool. It's a database that you can use to manage data, analyze data, manipulate data, and also clean data. In terms of data cleaning, SQL is like your go-to, right? And then you have Excel, which is also a spreadsheet. So Excel is type of a spreadsheet. Excel is user friendly, and this is what you're going to start with in this your journey. It's user friendly. I'm sure most of us have used Excel even before coming to TDI. So we can use Excel to clean data, we can use it to create visualization, we can use it to manipulate data, we can use it to analyze data. So Excel is a very user-friendly app that you're going to be using. Then we have Python. Python is a programming language and it contains libraries like pandas and numpy, matplotlib, and so on that we can use for data manipulation, data analysis, and also data visualization. So you can see that it's not just those people in web development and so on that uses Python. We also use Python as data analyst. So R is also a programming language. It's just like Python. So most times people say R is better than Python, Python is better than R. I'm sure you'll be seeing that argument so many places, but they almost do the same thing, right? So I don't want to say which one is better or which one is not better, but we can also use them for analysis, visualization, and so on. Then we have the business intelligence tool, which is also known as Power BI, right? So business intelligence to Power BI, or let's say Tableau, right? Inside business intelligence, we have Tableau, we have Power BI. These ones are used to create interactive visuals or visualization. You can also use them for analysis too, but their main job is that they are visualization tools. That's their main job, right? Their visualization tools. So the same way SQL main job is data analysis, data cleaning, data manipulation. The main job of business intelligence tools like Tableau and Power BI are for visualization, but you can also perform data analysis there. In fact, in this your journey, you're going to perform data analysis and data visualization in there. Then, now that we know what data is, what data analytics is, let's talk about data analyst. You as a data analyst, what is your responsibility, your role and your responsibility as a data analyst. So I already said you're a data analyst means that you're a detective. You are the one analyzing this data. You are the problem solver. You are the all and all. But you're not getting this information from your head. You're getting it from your data, right? So that is, you are a data analyst. Okay. Now you're not selling MTN recharge card. Don't worry, man. Don't worry, I'm so sorry. So let's talk about your roles and responsibility as a data analyst so that tomorrow somebody will not ask you how much is MTN 2.5 gig. That's your business. Anyways, number one is data collection and cleaning. As a data analyst, you are responsible for collecting data from different sources. You might be lucky enough to find a company where they already collect this data for you and store it somewhere for you to use. But if they don't collect this data and they tell you, oh, go out and give out survey forms, don't say it's not your job. It's your job. It's your job to collect this data and also clean it. Make sure that that data is clean. That's your job. It is your job to analyze this data and interpret it. So when you're done analyzing this data, you find trends, you find patterns. It is your job to interpret it to your stakeholders, to your boss, to your clients, because if they will not understand most majority of what you're going to be doing, because you're mostly going to be doing mathematics, statistical methods, and so on. So they might not even understand what you are saying there. So it's your job to explain to your stakeholder as a 5 years old, as everybody will say, explain to me like a 5 years old. It is your job to interpret whatever you have done. So it is your job to also generate reports, right? Reports like documentations, dashboard, visualization, and so on. It is your job. It's nobody's job. And in the course of your training TDI, you're going to be doing all of these things. So when you get your capstone project, we'll be expecting visualization, we'll be expecting documentation, we'll be expecting PowerPoint, and so on. All of those things that we know that's your responsibility, that we're going to be doing them. Then decision support. It is your job to recommend, to give recommendation, because you are the problem solver. That is your job, the problem solver. So you have to give recommendation. You've seen what the problem is. What should I do? Right? So in terms of decision support, it is your job to do that. Then, okay, I think I already explained ask, prepare, and to earn. So let's talk about the skills that you're going to be needing to become a data analyst. So we're talking about the hard skill and the soft skills. So for hard skills, we have analytical skills. Obviously, as a data analyst, you are going to have that. And don't worry if you don't have any of that. Trust me, before you finish 6 months in TDI, you'll be all of these things. You must be all of these things, except you are not consistent, but you must be all of these things, right? So we have analytical skills, being able to break down big problem into small problems. So if I give you a very big problem and tell you the problem is that we're not having sales, that's a very big problem. So you need to be able to, I don't know who this person is, but you're distracting me, please. You need to be able to break down this problem. Why are we having low sales? Is it because of our store sells ice cream in hot weather? Is, oh God. Sorry, guys. So you need to be able to break down this your big problem into smaller problems, right? And then we have technical skills, of course, because you're going to be using tools to do this analysis. You're not just going to be looking at the data and be getting answers out of it. You're going to be using tools like Python, SQL, Excel, like that we just spoke about. So you need to have technical skills or develop technical skills. That's why you're going to be learning these tools, how to use them to analyze data. And we also have statistical knowledge. Some people will say statistical knowledge is not so important, right? Or how do I put it? It's not so necessary, but it's important. True, because you can analyze a full data without doing statistics and you still get the correct answer. So understanding statistics is going to help you get more accurate results. That is just the beauty of knowing statistics. Whatever data you're going to analyze, you want to do a two-step authentication factor. That's what I call it. Because If I'm investing over ₦1 million in a business and I call you as a data analyst to analyze it, you need to be 202% sure that whatever recommendation you're going to give me is going to work. It might not work, right? But if it doesn't work, I will not even look that. I will sack you, because why are you giving me something that will make me lose over ₦1 million because I decided to employ you as a data analyst? So statistical knowledge is important because you're going to get more accurate results when you perform statistics on your analysis. Then data visualization. This one is important, it is necessary, it is compulsory, however you want to put it, because you're going to be analyzing data, and most of your data are going to be in numbers. Your stakeholders are most likely going to be people that are not interested in all of these things that you are saying. So now, how do you get people's attention apart from using pictures? If I'm teaching you this class now without showing you a slide, most of you would have left, or most of you would have been sleeping or distracted with one thing or the other. But for the fact that you can see a picture, you can read through, I'm getting your attention. Maybe not your full attention, but at least I'm getting your attention. So the ability to create beautiful visuals is your job, is a skill that you should learn. Not just beautiful visuals, interactive visuals that is informative. When I say beautiful visuals, I not say you should now turn to Barbie girl or turn to Chelsea boy and design dashboard that I don't understand. You need to be, because the essence of visualization is to aid understanding, meaning that you would have done your analysis. Because I see people, you leave the first ones I've spoken about, how to analyze data and so on, and you rush down to learn, you start learning visualization, but you don't even know how to analyze the data you want to visualize. So visualization is just to aid understanding. That is the job. So you are going to be talking to people about something that is boring. You need something to keep them active. So if I'm reading a book and I don't like the book, or if I see picture there, I might want to read because the picture will help me understand even better. That is what visualization is for. So you're supposed to have a skill or develop the skill of visualization as a data analyst. Then we have the soft skills. So soft skills, we're talking about communication. Some of you are going to be here for 6 months straight and nobody will even know you. Let's not even go to stakeholders aspect. For 6 months straight, nobody will know you. But for the first 1 month, some people will not like you anymore. Why? Because of the way you communicate. You don't want to say, oh, this is how I am. No, there are standards. If someone is being serious with you, be serious. If someone is joking, joke also, right? If you don't want to answer, don't answer. So it's not when someone is trying to communicate with you and you're being rude about it. So communication skill is something that you learn, not just how to communicate to your stakeholders, but how to communicate with your colleagues, how to communicate with your team members. This is a skill that you need, right? Not just being a data analyst, but generally. Then problem solving skills. Obviously, you're a problem solver. If you don't learn how to solve problems, why are you a data analyst? So you need to have problem solving skills, ability to be able to solve problems using data. You're not solving problems outside of data. You not say after analyzing data, you not say, okay, I not see answer. Then let me use what happened before. No. Then attention to details. I love this one because I see a whole lot of people say, I pay attention to details when all of you are lying. So when you are downloading apps and they give you terms and conditions, how many people read that terms and conditions? I can bet that 99.9% of people here don't. You just press accept, accept, accept. Tomorrow when something starts happening, you start telling yourself, what's going on? What's going on? But if they ask you, I pay attention to details. I pay attention to details, right? So attention to details is a skill that you want to develop. It's not just about terms and conditions, like I've said. As a data analyst, you need to be able to spot things that are unusual in your data. You need to be able to interpret your data very well. This is not the time for you to look and pass. There are so many people that are not in this community. Why? Because they did not read the instruction. The instruction said, after filling form, click the link to join the group chat. Half of the people in my Twitter DM, my TikTok DM, my Instagram DM, they didn't read the form. And then they are telling me, oh, I filled the form since last week. I've not gotten any reply. I keep telling them, so when you were filling the form, what did you see? They will say nothing. And then I'll just leave the person. Because how can you say you pay attention to details? How can you be filling a form to join something and you're not reading every details that is there? So what if the firm is selling your life, or you are selling some of your private parts, or you're selling some of your inheritance? You just fill the form and sign it and send it to me. And tomorrow I'll send people to your house to carry your thing, and then I'll say, you signed the document. So it, as a data analyst, right? Not just a data analyst, as a human being, you're supposed to pay attention to, there are some sensitive information that you don't just give out, or you don't just enter into because everybody's going into it. So now there are about 100 people in my DM telling me that they've not gotten a reply from TDI. You obviously not get a reply from TDI because you were told what to do, but you decided not to read the form, just had to fill and submit. Or it's not to fill, just fill and submit. So attention to details. If you don't have it, start now to start developing it, because you don't want to mess with people's money as a data analyst. As an employee, when they say company's decision is on your head, you now decide that, oh, okay, there's one particular write-up that is not important, let's skip. Then adaptability is one skill also that you want to learn now, because these tools keep changing. They will not wait for you. You see now they have AI, and people say, oh, AI is coming to take your job as a data analyst. AI is not coming to take your job as a data analyst if you decide to grow with AI. AI is only here to help you. It's just like those people that were doing typewriting before. Are they not the same people that are doing computer, that own the cyber cafe? Those ones that are doing that were painters before, are they not the same people that are learning how to fix wallpapers? So the world keep developing every day. So you being able to stay on the trend is what is going to keep you. AI is not coming to take your job if you decide to develop with AI. So AI is there to help you enhance your skill. And if in 5 years' time you're not able to enhance your skill with AI companies will pick people that know how to enhance their skills with AI. I say, why am I talking like no, companies will pick those people that are able to enhance their skills with AI and move on. And then you start saying, I learned data analytics, AI took my job, kini, you say nonsense. So ability for you to be able to learn new things. Like I always tell my people, you can never learn Excel finish. You can never learn Power BI finish, because the moment you can decide that, oh, I learned one formula today, then you go and come back and you find out that they added another formula. So these tools keep changing, and you need to be able to grow with these tools for you to stay relevant. Then teamwork. You are now in a group, and it is one thing that we watch out for in TDI, teamwork. We try as much as possible to build team bonding, because you can't have it, or you can't do it alone. That's one of our mottos. You cannot do it alone, because it's you trying to do it alone. It's going to be stressful. It's going to be hard. You can spend time learning unnecessary things that you're not supposed to learn if you had just asked someone. Somebody would have just showed you something. So imagine I'm looking for how to edit a slicer, and I decide to start watching the entire videos I have on TikTok. I will be wasting time. Or if I decide to ask someone and say, hello Jacob, do you know how to do this? And he says, oh, watch this particular video. I've saved time, right? And it's even going to make my projects even faster. So abilities for you to be able to work in a team and make friends and create a functional relationship is what is going to make you grow. And this skill is what you need. You also need as a data analyst. So like all these skills are not just in data analytics. If you decide to do web development, if you decide to do fashion designing, you cannot work faster without teamwork. Somebody's hand is up. Was that a mistake? Okay, I made a mistake there. Are you guys there? Or my network have disconnected? Okay.
We are there.
All right, we're almost done. Mr. Participating me. Where's Jacob? Jacob, where are you? Jacob abandoned me here. Okay. Let's continue. We're almost done. We're just going to talk about terminologies. So some of the terminologies that we are going to be hearing in data analytics, we're going to be hearing things like data sets. Data sets, you have your text, you have your number. Okay, when you have them, in a structured format, maybe in table like, we call it data sets. And then we have databases. As like I said, it's data analytics, just as the name implied. And all of this terminology, you might think that they are not important, but these are the kind of questions they ask you in interviews, actually. You might think that it's not necessary, but these are kind of questions that they ask you. Hey, Chimo, can you guys still hear me?
We can hear you. Yes, we can hear
Yes.
you.
Okay. So everything I've taught you today, don't say, I already know it. These are things that you should have at the back of your mind, because interview questions are not as hard as they look or as hard as people make them to be. The reason why they feel like it's hard is because you didn't prepare for it. You were preparing for the harder ones. And if I'm going for an interview, the last thing I want to be talking about or preparing for is data set or database. Why? Because I already know that, because I already have a foundation. Right? So I'll be focusing on that thing. So if I get this type of question, it means that I'm good to go. So database is where we store data, where data is kept. And then we have things and terms that they use, like big data. Big data refers to data that is actually very big, right? That we store in databases. Big data, you cannot store data that you refer to as a big data in Excel. Your Excel starts showing you that, oh, I can do it, oh, they start shaking. So these are referred to as big data, data that are very, very complex and very, very challenging to work with. So you usually store these things in databases and so on. So then we have small data most times, or you might not even get to work with so much large data like that, except you're trying to expand your course. But small data, those ones you can use, like you can use spreadsheets to work on them, analyze them, and so on. Then we have metadata. Metadata is the only one that is now looking strange. Then I said, as the name implies, but metadata refers to the information about your data. So information like the file, the size, the color, all of those things. The information about your data set is what we call metadata. Then we have data visualization, which I already explained. So data visualization is just graph or pictures that's used to explain your analysis. And then we have data lifecycle. I already explained data lifecycle. I said the stages that data goes through from where it's being generated to where it is being interpreted, destroyed, and so on. And then we have data mining. So data mining refers to exploring and analyzing large data sets to discover insight. So data mining can also, don't go and say I said though, but based on the definition, can also be called data analysis, because that is the explanation. The explanation is basically exploring and analyzing data to get insight, and that's what data analysis is, right? So just in case you go for an interview and they're asking you, because I've seen job recommendations and then they say good in data mining, they're basically saying good in data analysis. But sometimes they use these terms to know if you have foundations, if you just decided to open Excel and start analyzing data and call yourself a data analyst, right? Then we have data privacy. I was talking about protecting customers' information or personal information. It's not all data that you collect. In fact, the company I work for, you dare not, you dare not analyze data and decide, oh, this is the dashboard. Who are you? You dare not put some companies' information out there, right? So in terms of how this data will be collected, how it will be used, who will be responsible for the data will be shared, is also things that you should learn as data analyst. Because if I give you data and say you are responsible for this data, like I said before, if anything happens to that data, you'll be held responsible. Then we have the ETL. ETL refers to extract, load, and transform. Process of extracting data, transforming it, and loading it, right? Loading it inside the database or your spreadsheet and so on. Transforming it, cleaning it, extracting it is to get the data from different sources. Now, the reason why I'm telling you these things or reading out these things to you, right, is because most job descriptions, most interview questions, my friend went for an interview and they asked him, do you know, I said, how they put the question, or do you have ability for ETL or something like that? And he was like, no. Why? Because he didn't know what ETL was. But you can obviously do this thing. You can extract data. You can get data from different sources. You can transform data. You can also load this data. So why did he say no? So because he didn't know what ETL was, he said no. And then we have KPIs. KPIs are key performance indicators. They are used to measure the success of something. So let's say success of your company, success of your customers, data, success of maybe your school scores and so on. And we have something else that I refer to as KPI, especially when you are creating a dashboard, right? There are also there are keys, or let's say, or should I say, summary figures that tell you, that give us a summary of what we have in our data set. So you have like group of information or small information that can give me a summary of what you have in that your large data set. We also call them KPIs in data analytics. And then we have dashboard. A dashboard is like a plate. Let me call it like a plate that you put different visuals. So for the fact that you carry a visual and you keep one here, keep one here, keep one here, doesn't mean that you've created a dashboard. A dashboard is like you have a placeholder that contains all of these visuals. So you have like a book that you drew different diagrams inside. That's what we call a dashboard. So a placeholder that is containing all your visuals of your analysis is what we call a dashboard. Then data cleaning refers to cleaning your data, making sure it is free from error. Same thing with your data accuracy, making sure that your data it is free from error, is accurate 100. And then data governance refers to how data is going to be managed. We spoke about this when we were talking about data lifecycle. How data is going to be managed, how is it going to be assessed, how is it going to be used, who is responsible for the data. That's what data governance is about. So then we have statistics. Statistics for investigating trend, pattern, relationship using quantitative data. So that's for statistics. Like I said, statistics for me is like two-step authentication factor. So you are doing your normal analysis and then you perform a statistical analysis to be 100% sure that whatever you have done here is right in statistics. And then, my head. So sorry, guys. So we have data rigging. This one refers to the process of converting raw data into usable form. This part here is not your job. This is the job of a data engineer. Remember, I was talking about unstructured data. So this is the process of converting unstructured data into structured format so that you can use it as a data analyst. That is this part. And then, so not when they write it in job description, you now say, oh, I can do it. You just know that they've turned you to a data engineer like that. You might see it written there, you'll be like, oh, you see all the skills, analyze data, ability to do this, ability to do that, and it's rhyming with what you have done. And then you see this strange one, you say, ah, maybe I don't just know it in data analytics. It's not, though. That's the job of a data engineer. And then we have data ecosystem. First, to how these elements interact with one another to produce, store, manage, analyze, and share data. So we're talking about softwares and hardware tools and so on. I think this is okay. We see more. Me, I'm tired though. The data sources I already explained where data is from, data engineering, process of making data into usable format, spreadsheets. We use spreadsheets to impute data, organize data, analyze data, also to store data. So a spreadsheet can be somehow be classified as a database. So people will argue that, but at some point it has some functions or ability of the database. So it can be classified as a database, but not fully as a database, right? And then we have Python. We said Python is the programming language and so on. Yeah, so that's all. So questions. My mouth is paining me. These people abandoned me here. Nobody's even here to help me. Thank you. So basically, we've spoken about, now at least you know what data is, the different types of data that we have, different data sources, and what data analytics, the different types of data analytics, the phases involved, your responsibility as a data analyst, the skills that you need as a data analyst, and what else? Some of the terms we use in data analytics. So that's basically what we spoke about this evening. Any question before I finish here? Hi, I can see Nash. Natasha, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fine. What are you doing in introduction class, Biko?
Well, I'm learning.
All right. Happy to have you here.
Okay.
Okay. I'll think about whether I'll give people the slide or not. If my mind is good enough, I'll give it to you people. If I'm not, if I see nice food to it, I'll give it to you guys. Please, do you have any questions before I will faint here? Yeah, Ayodeji, ask a question, please.
Okay, yes. Good evening. Thanks for the class. It was interesting and really insightful. Okay, you made mention that
Welcome.
you'll be making use of Python, SQL. So I
Mm.
want to ask, like, is it necessary that we have to have the Python and SQL installed now, or along the line you would help us through or help us with it and guide us how we're going to download and install it?
Okay. No, it's not necessary for you to have that now, except you want to do extra work. But in TDI we're going two by two. So after Excel, SQL, after SQL, Power BI, then Python, right? So you don't need to download all of them now. You can go step by step, except if you want to do extra work, like I said.
All right, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Any other question? Does anybody stand up? Okay, Onyinyechi, ask your question, please.
Okay, good evening, ma.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for the lecture. Please, can you just throw more light on the ecosystem? I didn't get it.
On the what?
Eco, I think you said something like ecological system. I didn't get it. My network was bad then. Can you hear me?
Eh?
Hello?
I can hear you.
I know that I had something like ecological system data, something like that.
Ecological. I said data ecosystem.
Data echo. Thank you. Please, can you just throw more light on it? Because I didn't hear you. My network was bad then.
I'm just going to read what I have here because my head is filled up. So data ecosystem are made up of various elements that interact with one another to produce, manage, that's the store data, organize and analyze and share this data. These elements are either soft or hardware tools. So those are tools that you're going to be using, right? Your Excel, your Power BI, and so on, right? How these elements they interact to manage and store your data, organize your data, so that you'll be able to analyze. That's what data ecosystem is about. I'm not giving you a sweet explanation right now because my head is full, but you can read more on that. Chiamaka Destiny. Please, you guys should be fast to have a class. Chiamaka, you can go, please. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Alright.
Okay, maybe see all the people out. Like I'll call a day to come and tell you people. Precious, you are here. Precious, Precious. I'm not answering any question again. Precious, unmute and answer questions. Unmute, please. My mouth is telling me.
Sorry.
Thank you. Omotocho, you can ask your question.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, my question is, when we're talking about Power BI, I just wanted to ask, can Power BI also handle large data sets like Python and SQL?
Yes, it can. Yes, it can handle large data set better than Excel, actually, if you ask me. Yes, it can.
Okay, thank you.
Kennedy.
Hello, sorry, good evening.
Good evening.
Sorry, I just want to ask, is this a class like a class proper or just an introduction itself?
I don't understand your question. Do you mean I've been talking for 1 hour, 15 minutes?
No, no, no. No. Like you started class precisely.
What do you mean, class? So now let me address something. All right. So in
Okay.
TDI, right? First of all, in TDI is not a community where you pay for anything except t-shirts and so on if you've attended those ones. So right now we don't pay for anything, right? What we do here is that we give you materials, and these materials, that's YouTube videos, maybe other videos and so on, for you to be able to study. So we have a particular curriculum that we are going to be following to give you these videos. And then when we give you these videos to watch or for you to learn, we give you questions to answer, follow-up questions that will be assured that you are studying, right? That's what we do. So now there are some people that even with those videos, they cannot learn on their own, right? They don't want to learn on their own. They require tutors. They want tutors, right? This is where you're going to pay, because I'm not going to tell someone to start teaching you for free. No. The only reason why we are having this introduction session is because I took it upon myself and I said every beginners or every new intake that we get in TDI, we are going to have introduction session because we want to give you a foundation. So we're not just going to send you off to YouTube and give you YouTube videos to watch. So we're going to have a live class for that, right? So, but in the course of this journey, you're not going to be having classes except Saturday correction classes. So after giving you this project to run through 1 week, you're going to have a tutor that is going to come live and have corrections with you based on the assignments that you were given. So that is fair enough if you ask me. So if you want a tutor that's now going to be teaching you every concept that you have, this is where you're going to pay. Hope that is clear, Kennedy.
Yes, no, yes, no. Thank you very much.
All right. Monachi.
I don't really have any question. I just want to say thank you for taking out your time to actually explain better, and break it down. Just
Oh,
saying
you're
thank you
welcome.
anyways.
Monachi is fine. Oh, are you single?
Anyway, thank you so much. You're really kind. Yeah.
You're welcome. Kolade.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you, Annie, for the class here. Yeah, so it was really inspiring. And also, I just wanted to ask, will we get access to the slides?
Beg me first. If you beg me, I'll think about it.
Please, Annie, please. I beg, I'm on my knees.
Please, sir. Please, ma. Thank you, ma.
Come on, class, let's go. Can beg more, can beg more.
It's okay,
Please give us your slide. Thank you.
The slide is going to be in your assignment file, so you find it there. If you are paying attention to details, you will see it. If you don't pay attention to details, you will not see it. But it's going to be there in the assignment file.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Attention to detail tested.
Okay, so I think I've attended to everybody's question, so we can call it a night now. Right? I'll see you guys in. Are new people raising hands up or is a mistake?
Mistake.
I think they are waiting.
Okay. All right, I'll see you guys in the group chats. Have fun and your
Thank
mistake. And your assignment drops first thing Monday morning. So you don't want trust. See, how many people are here? When I was teaching, I know that if you're up to 80 something, if by the time they do submission for this your first week assignment, and I see less than the number that you are in that group, so your partner, hold that person tight in the shirt for this your assignment, because you can only start from the first assignment and they will remove you from TDI. It's going to be very shameful. Okay. Yeah, Christina.
I have a testimony about.
Hmm?
Okay, yes, ma. I wasn't able to join the class from the beginning. So I saw that it seems the class is being recorded. I don't know if we would have access to it. Thank you, ma.
Yes, everything is going to be in your assignment files.
All right, thank you so much.
All right. So good night, guys. Have a good night
Good
rest. See
night.
you.
And
Thank
please, I
you.
have a question.
Better answer your children. Me, I want to go.
And please, I have a
What's your
question,
question?
please.
Okay, ask your question.
Okay, so I wanted to ask if there is any way I can install Excel on my system, because for a very long time now I've been trying to install it. I've been using 365. Is it 365? Yes, but there are so many things I cannot use on it, like slicer, because I was in the last this thing, but traveling from where I did my service to the house, to my house, like it was a long journey, and there were so many assignments I couldn't submit. That was why I was in the probation group. Yeah, so I
Okay.
had to like join this one. So is there any way I can install Excel? Like,
Okay. So we'll try as we've not done that before, but then we'll try as much as possible to put a link that will help you download Microsoft Office in your laptop in case you don't have any.
okay, okay, thank you very much. Thank
Yes.
you.
Sorry for
All
free,
right.
please.
Kennedy, what did you say?
If it can be for free,
You say it can be for free. We'll try and look for free version, obviously. You buy in a wolf
thank you for
community now. Come on for my laptop.
it.
Bye, guys.
All right. Good night, everyone.
All right,
Bye,
thank
guys.
you. Thank you so much for the class. Thank you.